Brandy, welcome to the podcast. Brandy is a B2B SaaS growth strategist and fractional head of marketing. Brandy brings over 20 plus years of experience driving demand generation and go-to-market success, delivering 5x ROI, double-digit growth, and human-centered approach to scaling companies. So Brandy, first and foremost, tell me how you got started in this journey.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like I took a very non-traditional path, like the scenic route to marketing. My background's actually in PR and comms, and I spent 5 years in sales. And so I made the jump to marketing without any formal training. I didn't go the MBA route, just like rolled my sleeves up and, got someone to take a chance on me. So a lot of my career was progressive, just kind of jumping in there, learning lots of different things on the fly. I was able to be market number one or market number two in a lot of my roles. And so it was lots of trial and error, lots of building out of teams, lots of Googling stuff after meetings to figure out what it was. And so over the course of, the past 15 to 20 years, I've looked back and said, man, I am a B2B SaaS marketer. That's just kind of where I've ended up. So being fortunate enough to have lots of great mentors, lots of great teams. And I've always been attracted more to the demand gen, numbers, ops side of the house. And so that's where I've spent a lot of my career.
I mean, don't you see a common denominator with marketing, PR, and it sounds like it's all very person-centric. Am I wrong?
No, it is very person centric. I feel like behind every data point, behind every decision, there's a real person. And so even in the B2B world where it's not quite as sexy sometimes as B2C, there's always that human angle. And so I love to figure out what that is and figure out what helps, make people tick and then helps them to solve their challenges. And that feels like it's marketing at its core.
Just out of curiosity, what was the greatest challenge you faced switching between industries?
Oh gosh.
In terms of like the learning curve or where you felt like you were like, oh, well, this is very new territory for me.
I think the biggest challenge is when you go from being at that manager level to being a director, because it's not so much about what you can do or what you've learned. It's about how you can help to bring out the best in other people and set them
Mm,
up for success. And so when I was at Veracast, Harlan Clark at the time, we had some shifts in leadership and really wanted to go from being very reactive to being proactive. And so we created a demand gen team. Actually, I was asked to step in and take over that team because I was doing a lot of the demand gen just individually myself. And so being able to hire that team and not just like, hey, this is what I was doing, so you guys need to do it, but hey, I'm hoping lots of y'all are smarter than me, have different ideas, see things I don't see. And so how can I not necessarily have to be in the driver's seat, but go kick down the doors and make sure there's a great path for them ahead? I think that's the biggest mind shift because it's not just about you at that point.
right. So I believe I featured you in an article of mine a
Yeah.
while back in her forward.
Mhm.
And, you shared how you use LinkedIn as a research and sales tool. So I
Mhm.
want to talk about that because so many people are kind of scratching the surface of leveraging LinkedIn properly to kind of help their own career, whether
Yeah.
they're looking for a job, whether they're looking to close sales. Can
Mhm.
you tell me a little bit more about your experience using LinkedIn and how it has helped you?
Yeah, and I'll be the first to admit, for me, a long time LinkedIn was like that place that my resume was online. And then as I got into marketing and got further along, it was a place where I just reposted things that my brand was doing. And so it was a big opportunity to get a lot more out of it. So when I decided to go on this transition to entrepreneurship and really leaning into my business, I decided that LinkedIn was going to become my virtual storefront. And so it could actually check a lot of boxes, not just a place to post, but a place to listen, a place to test messages.
Right.
Also, I spent a lot of time really curating my feed. So not just, colleagues and employees and employers, but people that were doing the things I wanted to do and also my ICP. So I started
Mm,
to follow other, founders, CMOs, COOs, all of those folks that I want to get in front of or learn from. And it really transformed how LinkedIn works for me. So kind of like tapping into the voice of the customer in real time, but also seeing what's working for other people, what's happening, in trends. There's lots of, value and comments and DMs, and, it really becomes like real-time market research when you think about it that way.
yeah. I mean, so many of us see LinkedIn as like this place where there's so much going on, but
Mhm.
we almost get lost when we try to figure out, hey, how do we leverage this to
Yeah.
our advantage?
Yeah.
And how do I not come off as spammy? How do I build
Mhm.
honest relationships with individuals? Do you have any tips for someone who's looking at it?
Yeah, I think what helped me a lot, and I would think would probably help some folks too, is just to start really small. I started building like a LinkedIn muscle, right? Like anything else, you have to start a little small and then kind of exercise and get better and better. So, looking at curating your feed, following people, brands you like, also, commenting, right? If you're not quite ready to post yet or you're not sure exactly what to post, do comments first. I also spent some time thinking about like, what do I think
Hmm.
I could say or present on LinkedIn that might be helpful for someone, right? So not just the broadcasting and the
Give,
me and
give,
self.
give, then ask.
Yeah,
Right.
right. So give, and then ask, and then let yourself be a little vulnerable and authentic, right? It's real easy to see all the super polished people, oh, I've won
Right.
this and I've done this and I've done that. Hey, here's a thing I messed up, and this is what I learned.
Right. This
Um,
is a struggle of mine. Here's what I learned from it. Right.
Absolutely. Hmm.
Yeah. And many founders and entrepreneurs think that like success is defined by just sweeping a growth and
Hmm.
explosive progress.
Hmm.
What's an example of your career where you focused on just small wins and attacking bottlenecks instead of looking for something monumental and ground shifting?
Yeah, particularly in my world, there's not a whole lot of like growth hacking, right? There's not that one lever that's going to just like blow things open,
Right.
And so I think a lot of times you do look for the small incremental things that will build and scale on top of each other. One that comes to mind for me is when I was working with a company and they had really great organic traffic, but sales is like the leads are trashed, right? So like, okay, well, let's take a look at how we can really leverage that organic traffic, and the blog was very popular. So what we did is just put a CTA at the bottom of every blog that led to gated content. Because think about it, it's already getting lots of great traffic organically, so
Hmm.
we're not paying a lot of money for it. If someone gets to the bottom of the blog, they're pretty interested in what you have to say, right? And usually at that point in their journey, they're looking for something that's actionable, something that will help them. So we started to put those at the bottom of blogs and really saw some really great higher quality leads coming
Hmm.
from it because it was someone who was searching for an answer, high intent traffic, and sales was like over the moon about it. And it wasn't a huge thing. It wasn't tons and tons of money, but just looking for some of those places like to push a lever. I'm also a big fan of CRO strategy, templates, landing pages, all those things that seem very basic, right? Like, but there's always ways to optimize. There's so much science and data behind why people click things or they don't, looking at
Right.
heat type stuff. And so incorporating that into your strategy, just small tweaks and places, to make a small change can make a big difference.
Yeah. So you mentioned landing pages just out of curiosity, and I guess ClickFunnels and stuff like that is an
Yeah.
area of interest for you.
Mhm.
Do you do the development side yourself, or do you have like a developer you work besides?
So, most of my clients have developers, but we work very closely together. I've
Hmm.
always loved to have the folks and creative folks right in the trenches with the strategists because if they have a better idea of what we're trying to accomplish, who we are targeting, A, it puts some skin in the game for everybody, but B, I feel like a lot of great ideas about what to do and tweaks to make have come from the folks who are actually building it, right? Not just me trying to tell them what to do.
Yeah. Speaking of team members,
Mhm.
let's talk really quickly about AI. So, just out of curiosity, how are you leveraging AI both internally to kind of stay organized and efficient within your team and externally to kind of increase your sales and, customers?
Yeah, I feel like with I really try to think about how to leverage each of the tools I use for the thing that it's designed to do, which sounds very, again, basic, but like it's helped me with a lot of my workflow. So, for example, with ChatGPT, I feel like it's my overly enthusiastic intern, right? The vibe there is speed and
Always
creativity.
supporting you no matter what. So
Always
it's like, that's
supporting
a
me.
really good idea.
That's a good idea. I can make you a PowerPoint, right? It's always there, like, to take things to the next level, but, like, the vibe there for me really is speed and creativity and volume, right? This is for when I'm stuck and I'm on a blank page and just need to get started. I'm really happy for it to take on that first crappy draft crappy first draft that then I can, move on from or say, "Hey, I need 5 subject lines," or, "Here's an article I really wanted to read but don't have time," right? Analyze it for me, put a couple bullet points together and give me 5 ways this will help me in my business. Gemini to me is more like my chief of staff, like my strategic thinking partner. So synthesizing
Mm.
notes, looking for blind spots. I love to ask Gemini, what didn't I think of? Here's what I'm
Just out of curiosity, why? is there a particular reason why you would choose Gemini over ChatGPT?
I like Gemini because I think it gets me more thoughtful answers. I think it
Hmm.
also isn't as, in my personal experience, it's not as eager to please me. So it will tell me things actually that I have missed or offer suggestions for improving things.
Yeah, ChatGPT is like annoyingly agreeable, and I know
Yes.
something's wrong because not everyone agrees with me in real life. So it's like this is yeah, there's something here needs to be calibrated. But I
Absolutely.
think when you ask it not to be so agreeable, it kind of does adjust a little bit. But that's an interesting answer. So we talked about AI. I want to talk about the human aspect and
Mhm,
the human element.
mhm,
So you often describe your approach as very human centered.
mhm.
What does that mean in practice? And do you find that to be as important in your B2B environments compared to like something more customer based, like B2C?
Yeah, so for me, human-centered means, remembering that, again, there's always a person behind the data. Behind every decision, there's a person who has emotions and money and all kinds of things tied into it, and I think it's especially important in highly technical or regulated industries, and particularly in B2B, because it's easy to just think about the widget or the software that's happening and forget about the pain points, right? A lot of what people
Mm,
are seeking in B2B is clarity. They're looking for actionable answers to their problems. And so there's all kinds of data around when people perceive a company to be helpful. They're way, way more likely to have confidence in the vendor and then confidence in themselves to go champion for that vendor. And so, I think particularly in B2B, it's important to keep that human element around in the front of your brain when you're thinking about how to market to those folks, because what they're doing is highly emotional, the decision
mm,
making of it. Hmm.
very interesting.
Hmm.
So, just out of curiosity, I see you've jumped through various disciplines over time.
Hmm.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Do you see yourself sticking in this industry, putting on your curiosity hat and venturing outwards once again?
I think it's hard to predict in 5 years with the way and that things change, and the pace of the shifts that we're seeing. But I do see myself just continuing to try to be helpful. I think for me, the whole reason why I took on this particular part of my journey is because I wanted to work on the projects I wanted to work on. I wanted new, interesting challenges. And at the end of the day, I really do truly like what I do. And so, as long as those things are happening, I still see myself here. I do think, particularly for marketers, something that's going to shift and change is understanding how we need to shift what we do to meet our buyers where they are, right? So much of the
Right.
journey is happening in places like Slack and DMs and communities and peer to peer. And it's not, we had funnel, then we had flywheel, then back to funnel, and there's all kinds of different iterations of it now. But like, still, you need to give people a reason to connect with your brand, to connect with each other, and then not just choose your product, but have faith in you, because trust is really a big currency for us going forward. So as long as that challenge is around for us to solve, I think I'll do my best to be around too.
What advice would you give to someone who's looking to enter the B2B space?
Yeah. I would say do it. It's very gratifying. Like I said, it's not necessarily just widgets, longer sales cycles, bigger buying cycles. It's harder. And that's actually why I like it. I particularly like the heavily regulated industries for some of those reasons, because you really do get the opportunity to be a lot more creative, right? I think the
Hmm.
human element, some of the restrictions that exist, some of the cutting past the jargon is super important in B2B and in these worlds as well. And so it really does give you a long runway um, to be creative and just jump in, right? A lot of it you can learn the industry, the people, the ICP, as you go along. The fundamentals of marketing are the fundamentals of marketing, right? Meet people where they are, be helpful, and create sales ready leads that turn into revenue. Like, that's going to be the same no matter where you're marketing. But at least from the B2B world, for me, it's very fun.
Yeah, and what would you say would be the biggest area of progress or growth you can head towards in your specific industry? Like maybe learning programming or just like
Mm.
where do you feel like is that like dark spot that you would love to see progress in?
Yeah. Honestly, I would take it back to AI, right? So I think
Mm,
the thing that I love about AI is that it kind of helps with the what, right? Some of the mechanical things that have to get done. So it frees you up for the things that only humans can do, right? The
Right.
strategic word, looking for patterns,
I call it the uniqueness factor, what makes you exceptionally you, and you should
absolutely.
triple down on that.
Yeah, upskilling in the things that you can either have AI do for you or have support or, do repetitive tasks. So then your brain power and your time is focused on the things that only you uniquely do or have perspective on, really will be the difference going forward.
Brandy, how can people get in touch with you?
LinkedIn. So that's probably the primary place to go. Please, I'm there for comments, DMs. Follow me. Love to comment. Would love to hear, your thoughts on the stuff that's going on if you'd like to partner. Also would love to hear from you as well.
Brandy, it's been an honest pleasure talking to you, and I appreciate your knowledge and wisdom, and I look forward to following you on your journey.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Great to be here, and I appreciate the time.